Welcome to today's Explainer. We're talking about something absolutely crucial today, career planning and why you are the unique dragon. I'm genuinely so glad you're here because we are going to tackle something big. We're talking about taking ultimate, completely uncompromising control of your career path. As we go through this, I want you to just think of me as your mentor. I'm going to give it to you straight, okay? We live in this world that is constantly, and I mean constantly, trying to tell us exactly who we should be and what we're supposed to do next. But here's the truth. True career planning, it's a highly personalized behavior. Absolutely no one can do the hard work of thinking about it for you. So we're going to break down exactly why you need to stop borrowing other people's maps and finally start drawing your own.
So let me just ask you a very direct question, right out of the gate. Are you waiting for a 10-minute test to decide your life? Seriously, think about it for a second. So many of us, we secretly harbor this hope that if we just answer a few quick multiple-choice questions, like whether we prefer going to loud parties or staying home with a good book, the universe is just going to suddenly hand us our ultimate life's purpose on a silver platter. It's literally like taking a BuzzFeed quiz to decide who you should marry. No way, right? We just want a quick fix. We're craving this standardized product to solve the highly non-standardized problem of our own existence. But, well, life just doesn't work that way.
Okay, let's dive into this. We are constantly surrounded by these tools that we mistakenly treat as some sort of magic fate manual. We've got MBTI reports, Enneagram tests, and now we even have these AI matching algorithms that promise to perfectly pair you up with your absolute dream job. Honestly, treating an algorithm like an oracle is just asking for a dating app disaster, but, for your career. Now, don't get me wrong here. These are fantastic tools for inspiration, for sure. They can spark some great ideas, and they give you the vocabulary to kind of describe your natural tendencies. But they are absolutely not shortcuts to replace your own hard thinking. You literally cannot rely on a piece of paper or a string of code to act as the judge and jury of your destiny. Those deep, gritty questions, who are you, what do you really crave, what are you actually willing to bleed for, they just don't have fast, automated answers.
To really wrap our heads around how you should approach your path, we need to look back at some ancient wisdom. The ancient Chinese text, the I Ching, contains this incredibly fascinating phrase. It says, "A flock of dragons without a leader is auspicious." Now, I know, in modern terms, a flock without a leader might sound like total, absolute chaos. But the true meaning here is actually profound. It means that in a system filled with truly excellent individuals, there isn't just one single dominant path. There's no one alpha that everyone else has to blindly follow. Instead, every single individual is a dragon, ruling their own domain. It is auspicious, meaning it's a profoundly good thing that your career path looks completely and totally different from everyone else's. And this idea of ruling your own domain, that brings us to the ancient concept of the Junzi, or the noble person. You see, every excellent individual has their own independent orbit. You are meant to shine uniquely, like a single solitary dragon, and your career is the exact same way. You've got your own specific direction, your own targets, and your own unique rhythm. When you try to imitate someone else, when you try to, say, fly in their orbit instead of your own, you aren't becoming the best version of yourself. Actually, you're just creating a phantom. It's a pale imitation of someone else's journey that might look super successful on the outside, but trust me, it feels entirely hollow on the inside.
Let's walk through exactly what happens when you try to force yourself into someone else's mold. I call this the doomed path of copying. Okay, step 1. You see a successful person, maybe a senior colleague, maybe a famous entrepreneur on social media, and you just copy their path. You take the same type of job, you work the same crazy hours, you chase the exact same promotions. Step 2, you encounter inevitable career pressure. Because let's be real here, every single job gets hard. Every path has its suffering. But here is the kicker in step 3. You collapse, completely without resilience. Why? Because you never answered the why for yourself. If you blindly follow someone else's map, when those delayed flights, that harsh feedback, and just the sheer exhaustion hit, you won't have the deep, internalized conviction you need to weather the storm. You will literally shatter under the pressure. This right here, this is that classic midlife crisis. This is the brutal burnout that leaves you wondering why on earth you spent a whole decade climbing a ladder that was leaning against the completely wrong wall.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive long-term cost of handing your choices over to outsiders. When you fall into passive dependence, you're just constantly wavering. You feel misaligned because, well, the plan doesn't really fit you. And as a result, you constantly need this external validation just to keep going. It's like needing a boss to pat you on the back every single day just so you feel okay. But when you make an active decision, everything changes. Even if the plan you choose isn't absolutely flawless, it is highly adapted to your own unique quirks. You have real psychological ownership over it, And that is exactly where true self-discipline comes from. You aren't just following a route anymore. You're actively taking responsibility for your life and deciding that your own internal compass is way more reliable than all the noise around you.
So, why is it so incredibly hard to just make an active decision? Well, as a mentor, I have to acknowledge this. It's because human motivation is completely chaotic. Knowing yourself is just incredibly difficult. Inside every single one of us, there is this messy, contradictory tug of war happening all the time. I mean, you probably crave the safety of a stable, predictable paycheck, right? But you also desperately want the thrill of a risky adventure. You want to make a lot of money, but you also want your work to have this deep, resonant societal meaning. It's a chaotic mix, and acknowledging that chaos, that's the very first step. I am definitely not here to tell you it's easy to figure out. It takes real grit to just sit with your own contradictions. And because it's so hard to figure ourselves out, we naturally fall right into the trap of seeking external answers. We run to the quote-unquote experts, hoping they just hand us the magic key. But let me point out the massive flaw in that plan. First off, when you talk to someone about your career, you're only communicating a tiny fraction of your true chaotic self. It is fundamentally impossible to express every single nuance, fear, and ambition you hold inside. Second, that other person, even if they are the most well-meaning counselor or the most supportive friend, they receive that tiny fraction, and they unconsciously project their own life experiences, their own fears, and their own biases right back onto it. So finally, the resulting advice you get? It's deeply flawed. It suffers from a massive information deviation. Look, if figuring yourself out is already this hard, outsourcing the final decision to someone who only understands maybe 10% of you, that's just incredibly dangerous.
Which brings us to a really crucial moment of truth. What price are you willing to pay? This is the one profound question that you simply cannot outsource. You've got to look in the mirror and ask yourself, who do I really want to be? How do I intend to spend the incredibly limited, precious time I have on this earth? Because every single career path has a cost. Every achievement, no matter how glamorous it looks from the outside, requires a sacrifice. You, and literally only you, are the one who can decide which sacrifices are actually worth making.
I really want you to internalize this undeniable truth. Your career belongs only to you. It does not belong to your parents, no matter how much they love you or want to protect you. It doesn't belong to career counselors, and it certainly doesn't belong to AI algorithms trying to quote-unquote optimize your life path based on some data points. We live in an era where people will gladly just hand over their agency, letting systems recommend what they should watch, what they should eat, and even who they should date. Choosing to draw your own map, choosing to critically think for yourself about your career, that is a profound act of human dignity. It is the real, raw process of building an honest relationship with yourself.
I want to leave you with this final, incredibly powerful thought as we wrap up today's explainer. The best path isn't the safest, but the one that sparks your passion and makes you willing to take responsibility. So stop fearing the uncertainty of charting your own course. Stop looking for perfect answers from absolute authorities. You are the unique dragon of your own life. No one can do the thinking for you simply because no one else can live your life for you. So the question is, when are you going to stop borrowing other people's maps and finally start drawing your own? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Now, get out there and take absolute ownership of your path.